Welcome again to Emeka Ugwuonye's series on law and development. We have been focusing recently on the problems of insecurity occurring in the eastern part of Nigeria. We chose to focus on the east because of the unique circumstances of the crisis, that is the creation of ESN to fight, apparently to fight against the herdsmen's activities in the eastern states. By eastern states, I speak of the five states of the southeastern part of Nigeria. And the aftermath, so much has happened in connection with that. And we began to look critically at the role of IPOB, the emergence of IPOB, the creation of ESN by Nnamdi Kanu. And one thing we haven't discussed, one thing we haven't focused on closely is the fact that Nigerian government created Nnamdi Kanu. This may sound surprising to some people, but one must see Nnamdi Kanu as a product of the Nigerian government. He was invented by Nigerian government, and of course, ESN, derivatively, was also invented by Nigerian government. I will show you how this happened in two important ways. In December 2015, when Nnamdi Kanu was arrested by the DSS, before then, many people did not know who Nnamdi Kanu was. Nnamdi Kanu was just one of the boys working with Ralph Wazulike on their Masob activity. He was just a young Igbo man who was aggrieved by the perceived domination and oppression of the Igbos in Nigeria, and who idealized the actualization of Biafra. So he was just someone working under Wazulike and Mazab. There was nothing spectacular, there was nothing remarkable about Nnamdi Kanu as of December 2015. But Nigerian government arrested him and charged him with treasonable offenses. There was no probable cause. There was no evidence to justify that charge. In a normal society, the charge was bogus. And of course, eventually, a Nigerian court dismissed the treasonable charges. The terrorism charges, It meant that the charges of terrorism against Nnamdi was baseless. It should never have been filed if those who filed it were acting honestly and in accordance with the law. So why would they do that? Of course, they wanted to silence him. They wanted to charge him with an offense that would lead to him being denied bail and being remanded in prison. They wanted to imprison him without trial. So they used a convenient charge, even though there was no evidence. But that's not the subject of this conversation. I am not here today to focus on the charging decisions made by the DSS in 2015 and January 2016. But the critical thing that I want to talk about is the fact that Nnamdi was a nobody before his arrest. Once arrested, the processes of his arrest, his detention, the capricious charges against him, all operated to turn Nnamdi Kanu into somebody. They made him important. They made him the leader, apparently, of the Igbos. They made him the spokesman of Igbo people. And when everybody saw how the Nigerian government was overreacting to Nnamdi Kanu, people began to think, maybe there is something about this young man that we didn't know about. That process gave Nnamdi Kanu the attention he would never have had. It made him a hero. It made him a symbol. It showed, according to the ordinary people in Igbo land, it showed how Nigerian government viewed the Igbo and how they overreacted to the concept of Biafra. The word Biafra should not be something Nigerian government should be so afraid of. After all, there are two sides to Biafra. There is the ideological Biafra. There is the myth of Biafra. There was this notion of a people who at some point felt marginalized and decided to pull out, and it led to war and 3 million people died. It's an incredible story. Even though I personally do not believe that territorial Biafra is possible, I do not believe territorial Biafra is necessary, I do not believe that giving the Igbos a country of their own away from Nigeria is going to solve the problems. No. I belong to a different school. I accept there is marginalization. I accept there is oppression of the Igbos. I accept there has been exclusion of the Igbos. But I do not think that Biafra is the way out. I don't think so. You can say I'm wrong, but I'm telling you what I think. However, Nigerian government somehow had some obsession with the idea, the notion of Biafra. The mentioning of Biafra pushes them into an overdrive. That was why they arrested Nnamdi Kanu in December 2015, and then gave him that incredible charge of treason. Treason and terrorism. In that process, they radicalized him. They made him a hero. They made him somebody to look at, and immediately Nnamdi rose beyond his boss, who was Rike. He became more important than any previous attempt at neo-Biafran movement. That was one way. The use of indictment for the purpose of silencing opponents or critics, it backfired. Nigerian government created Nnamdi Kanu, made him the king of the Igbos, gave him more credence, more attention, more credibility than the Igbo elite. So the Igbo elite were essentially sidetracked, and a bogus leader was emerged. Bogus created by Nigerian government. That's one way. There's another way. Nigerian government created Nnamdi and ESN. Nnamdi was locked up in prison, detained in prison for 1.5 years, just by remand, based on the bogus charges filed then. And after 15 months, he was set free. Do you understand what happens when you take a man who has not been convicted and you place him in prison for 15 months? Not only do you radicalize him, you provide him a recruitment ground. You provide him opportunity, a community he could recruit from. Now, let me say this because many Nigerians don't realize it, or when they hear it, they don't take it seriously. 80% of the people in Nigerian prisons are innocent. They are innocent because they have not been tried and convicted. They are untried inmates. How can any country justify putting 80% of its inmate population, and all of them are innocent, not tried, awaiting trial cases? So you got to see how the system works. When you take all these people, put them in prison, many of them innocent people, they are there because the police or DSS or somebody else decided to create a crime on a piece of paper. What do you do? So Nnamdi was there in Kuje prison. When he got into Kuje prison, he divided the population of inmates into Igbos and non-Igbos. For the first time in the prison, you now had the Biafran inmates and non-Biafran inmates. After 15 months, what do you think would happen? He left. So, is anybody surprised that Nnamdi could recruit people for ESN? It's very simple. Very simple. You put him in prison for 18 months. And at the end of it, you said, okay, we have detained you enough. You can go now. We'll grant you bail. If he had plans to set up a militia or to bring together any group of people, he had a good recruitment ground. The prison provided it to him. So Nigerian government gave it to him. They gave him a recruiting ground for ESN. And something else you may not know about Nigerian prison system. Even though a person is in one prison, the prisons are somehow connected. Inmates in one prison know what is happening in the other prisons. You know how it happens? Because Nigerian prison authorities, they have this practice of moving inmates from prison to prison. When they want to punish an inmate because he's trouble, they will move him. Like one Oka, there was a guy called Oka, relative of the Oka, that was in Abuja prison while being tried. He was convicted and sentenced, and when he was there, he was giving them a whole lot of trouble. He was a radical. He was really a radical. So the only way the prison authority could deal with his case was to transfer him to Maiduguri. It was a form of punishment. They could just move inmates anyhow they like. He's part of the control. But when you move that guy to Maiduguri, what do you think is going to happen? He's already radicalized. He's now moved to a different prison. He will also radicalize inmates there. So now, imagine you are an inmate in Nigerian prison, and you have 2 years to complete your sentence, and they release you. Your sentence is finished, you go home, or they grant you bail. You have no job, you have nothing. But you met one guy, one charismatic guy in prison called Nnamdi. And he's setting up ESN or an organization. What will you do? You join. Some of the people in the prison actually know how to use guns. And those who don't know how to use guns will learn eventually through association with those who know how to use guns. So, whichever way we look at it, in this country, we need to be honest to ourselves. We need to understand the root cause of things. We need to understand how things are connected. Today, ESN and IPOB are causing incredible menace in the eastern part of Nigeria. In my previous speeches, which I know offended a lot of people, I made it clear that IPOB had caused more harm to the Igbos than anyone could imagine. It doesn't matter their language. It doesn't matter what they say. It doesn't matter their intentions. The reality is the reality. They have caused incredible harm to the Igbo people in Nigeria. But as we look at it, let us understand that Nigerian government created them. inadvertently, of course. They didn't realize what they were doing, but they created a man. They took an ordinary man and radicalized him and turned him into a hero. And not only that, gave him a recruiting ground, a place to find people who are willing to fight, who are willing to shoot, who are knowledgeable in the use of gun. And today, everybody's traumatized. Everybody is crying. So, we got to face these facts. You take a man, because you want to put him in prison, you stick on him an allegation. Heavy, impossible allegation. Treason, terrorism. And you radicalize him. And eventually he will become that thing which you said he was when he wasn't. We got to look at this, and I hope someone in the Nigerian government will hear this and understand that the conspiracy between the police and the law enforcement agencies and the courts, which lead to unnecessary and needless incarceration of innocent people on the basis that it's awaiting trial, it is costing Nigeria so much. It will cost Nigeria a whole lot. So let us agree that it created Nnamdi, that practice created Nnamdi Kanu, that practice created ESN. Thank you. We shall continue in the future.